Hey there, welcome back to my channel. In today's video I'm excited to take you on a thrilling behind the scenes journey into the world of video editing. We'll dive into a recent project for a professional security client and give it a Mission Impossible style feel. To achieve that high-tech look I utilised two powerful video editing tools. First I employed Final Cut Pro X to create the stunning title effects that capture the essence of the Mission Impossible style brief from the client. The software's intuitive interface and vast array of features truly make it a go-to for professionals. But that's not all. To bring the entire edit together seamlessly, I turned to the incredible capabilities of Davinci Resolve 18.5 Studio. This powerful editing software allowed me to finesse the footage, ensuring a cohesive and engaging final product. Now let's talk about sourcing the epic royalty-free video clips and sound effects that make our project come alive. I'll guide you through my favourite platforms where you can find an extensive collection of captivating footage that fits your desired style. Links are in the description below. And when it comes to sound design, I'll introduce you to fantastic sound effects libraries where you can discover the perfect audio elements to enhance the intensity of your edits. But what's a great video without an equally fantastic soundtrack? That's where the AI music comes into play. We'll explore how artificial intelligence generating music can elevate your project, creating an immersive experience for your audience. Finally, we'll delve into the edit itself, showcasing the technologies I use to achieve that adrenaline pumping feel. We'll touch on sound design and other key elements that contribute for overall cinematic experience. And of course, no behind the scenes journey is complete without discussing the crucial step of exporting the finished video. I'll walk you through the settings and options you need to consider to ensure your video looks its absolute best, ready to be shared with the world. So buckle up and join me as we embark on this exciting video editing adventure. Get ready for an action-packed behind the scenes look at how we transform the client's project into a Mission Impossible style masterpiece. This video is sponsored by Davinci Resolve Titles.com. They make awesome, easy to use drag and drop title packs for Davinci Resolve. To get a free title pack, check the link in the description. Stick around to the end of the video to get a discount code. Here are some of the sites I like to get my video clips from. They're all pretty similar, where you can do a search like this, so you can select the type of thing you're looking for, like footage, type your search in the search bar, press enter, and it's going to bring up a load of clips. And to preview them, just hover your mouse over them. And clicking on the clip reveals the larger version of it, so you can see it in more detail. And over there we've got the clip resolution, the length, the frame rate, and also what camera it's shot on. Shutterstock works very much in the same way. One thing I really like about Shutterstock is they have collections which you can share with the customers. So what I've done is I've gone through the site, added a load of different items that the customer might like the look of. Once you've built a collection, you can then go over and share it. You can either copy the link and send it direct, or you can email it to the customer and also set options that they can view it, edit or remove it. Storyblocks is another good one that I use, especially if you're doing like a single project and you need a load of clips just for that one time. You can pay for 1 month and cancel at the end, so you're not tied into a yearly contract. For royalty-free music, it's quite hard to beat Epidemic Sound. They have a massive library of soundtracks and sound effects. I just go into sound effects, type in what I'm after, hit play, have a listen, and see if it matches what I'm seeing on my screen. This next one, the AI music generator, is a massive time saver, and I'm sure some of you are going to find this really useful. And one place I like to go for my music is SoundRaw. This is great. I can go in, press create music, and this uses artificial intelligence to create the track for you. So we can go in here, we can set the length of the track, so I know we're looking around about 1 minute 30 to 1 minute 40, turn off slow, fast, and then we can go and select the mood of the track that we want. So I want to try epic, and then we're going to see what it comes up with. So here it's showing you the track title, the mood, it's showing you the beats per minute and the time duration, and you can see a waveform, and to click on it to have a listen, just press the play button. And sometimes it just doesn't sound anything like what you want, so I'm going to try a few different combinations. After a little bit of playing around, turning off acoustic, adding electro dance, techno and trance, it's come up with a much better option. And the cool thing with this is you can actually adjust it, so that's kind of like a low energy. If I click on this, it changes it to medium, click on it again, it'll go high, click on it again, it'll go very high, and then it'll go back to low. So you can play around with the sound settings as you're recording, just like this. So this would do quite well for an intro as it's building. I want it to go a bit more energy in the next section. Click on this and the preview is pretty instant, you can hear it straight away. So this could work pretty well. And over here you've got Pro mode, which gives you a few more functionalities. So here we can adjust the length. So if I wanted to increase it, make it a bit longer, press the plus. So we can see now it's gone to 1 minute 40. So I'm going to push it a little bit more to like 1 minute 46. And then that way it should fit in nicely with our edit. So this allows you to adjust the length, beats per minute. So you could make it faster. You can add instruments just by clicking those. You can adjust the key that it's in, and also you can play around with things like the different volume levels in here. So it does give you a lot of flexibility. If this is for a client edit, I always add it to keep, because that's going to save this. So if I ever need to come back and edit it later, I can do. If the client says speed it up here or make it quieter here, you can come back and do that. If you just don't save it, you've got to start again and figure out how you did it. But once you're happy with it, download the music. In this section of the video, I'm going to show you how I use Final Cut Pro X and Motion VFX to make the animated titles. For some of the cool stuff, I'm going to dive into Final Cut Pro. I'm going to import our logo into the media library here. Then I'm going to go over to the effects. I'm going to have a look at MHUD3 by Motion VFX. They make some fantastic plugins. And the one that I think will work, we've got some down here, so if you hover the playhead over, it shows you the effect. But the one I think I'm going to use is this one, number 7, because it's got this cool looking code as it animates out. So what I do is drag that onto my timeline, click on it, and then over on the right hand side in our Expector panel, scroll down and then click Select Image, go to our media library, click on that, and then our logo should now be in here. Playing around with a few of the settings, I've now got my logo in colour, and we can see we've got a bit of text loading in like code, and then logo's on screen for a couple of seconds, and then it's going to glitch out and we'll get a bit more code, and then it transitions, which is what I want. Export this. There's our high-res 4K version I can drop into Davinci Resolve, and I'm going to use Motion VFX to make some more. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go File, New Project, Titles. So here's our new project. I'm going to go to our titles, and then I'm going to go down to our Motion VFX. I've got a really cool template here, which is this one. I'm going to drag that down onto my timeline. It's a couple of seconds long. So we've got opening phrase, and I'm going to change this to biometric security, which looks kind of cool. Next thing I'm going to do is dive in and change our font, because I want to use the same that's on our website. Scroll right up to the top. I know the font we used was called Able. The cool thing with Final Cut is you can see all the changes real time, which is a really nice touch. So Able, that's going to match all of our fonts on the website. And if we want to duplicate this, I can just hold down the Alt key, make another version, and this will be a different title again. So I call it IT Infrastructure. Another one I'm going to need is CCTV. So all I'm doing is just create a couple of titles that I can drag and drop in. Don't have to use all of them, but at least they're good. If you want to buy Motion VFX plugins, please use the link in the description. It is an affiliate link and I do receive a small commission. This helps the channel, it helps me create more content for you guys. Motion VFX works with Davinci Resolve, Final Cut Pro and Premiere Pro. In my opinion, these are some of the best plugins available for video editors. I've also got MHUD2 on here, so I'm just going to add a few more clips onto here. So we've got a map of the city, which might come in useful. We've got a satellite locator, that's one of the services the company offers, so we can drop that in. And we've also got a vehicle tracker, which I'm going to drag onto the timeline. So I can also use these. The cool thing with these is you could stack them as a group, so it could have several. So hold down the Alt key, hold down the Alt key, and hold down the Alt key. So I've got 3 stacked on top of each other, so I can just move the position of each one now. So I can just play around with the position. So I've got each one as a single one, and then I've got a combination of all 3, which again I can use in the video. If you guys would like to see a link to the hardware I'm using, please leave a comment below. We're now going to dive into the video editing section in Davinci Resolve. Okay, so here's all our files. I've put them into a video folder in the client's folder so I can easily find them and locate them, and I know they're not going to move from this location. Next thing I'm going to do is fire up Davinci Resolve, and then I'm going to create a new project. And then I just want to make sure I go to right click project settings, and I know our timeline frame rate is going to be 25 frames a second, playback frame rate is going to be 25. Image scaling, I just want to make sure that scale entire image to fit is set. Color management, I'm going to leave it as Davinci RGB, wide gamut, 2.4, and press save. Then I'm going to jump over to my edit page. Then I'm just going to open our folder, highlight all of this, drag it into the master, and that way we've got our video clips are here, our music's here, and our sound effects are here in separate folders, so it's nice and organised. What I like to do is select all the clips and just drag them onto the timeline. As you can see, most of the clips do not have audio. This one does, but there's no sound on it at all. I'm playing through and there's no sound. So to get rid of this, as I don't want extra clips on there, right click, link clips, click away, then click on that, press delete, and there we go. So we've got a completely blank slate, and what I do is I'd scrub through all my different clips, work out if any of them are too long, if I need to trim any, and then I'd move them and set the order I want. And then I start adding things like the music and the sound effects. On our edit page, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a few more audio tracks. So go add track, stereo, just add a couple. You can always delete them if you don't need them. And what I like to do is have my music on the bottom layer. So call that music. Double click my music folder, drag this in and put it on the bottom layer. And then the next thing I'm going to do is lock it. So basically, if I make any cuts or move anything about, it's not going to affect this track. That's going to be locked in place and I can't alter it in any way at the moment. The reason I've got these extra audio tracks is for the sound effects. So I might be layering several effects on top of each other to get the audio sound and the background. And I've left gaps here for the logo and enough gaps so I've got titles in between, and then I'll have another logo at the end here. And for the audio track, what I always like to do is have a listen to it and add markers. So if there's like a beat change or an interesting part, I'm going to add a marker on it so I can easily find it. So spacebar to play. So go through, find all the little beats and where you think it might be a good place to change clips, because once you set that up it just makes your life a lot easier lining up the clips. And if you want to see it in a bit more detail to make sure your markers are bang on, just press Command plus a couple of times. And I'd also grab this, drag this music track and make it massive just to check that my markers line up with the beats. If they don't, you can nudge them across ever so slightly. So I just move them like a frame left or right just so they're in line with the beat markers I've created. I do that for each one and go through the entire track. Once my beat markers are added, I can make this a lot smaller again. This is what our finished timeline is going to look like. So we've got the logo fading in at the start. So here's some of the titles I created within Final Cut Pro. I've added some titles in Davinci Resolve on top. We've got some of the stock clips. There's another title, another stock clip, more stock clips, and we've got another title. So that's how I've broken up the video. And then later on in the video we've got a kind of more complicated clip, which I'll cover how I made that later on in the video. And then we've got our title with their logo fading out. So this is what we're going to build. So to do this, I'm going to start a new timeline. So double click timeline, right click, duplicate timeline, and we'll just call this one demo. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to clear out all of this lot here. Here's our audio track. So I've put all the beat markers in across the top on the like bits that I think are great. I also split the clip on a note just to make the track a little bit shorter. So I'll just quickly fly through how I built everything. So these are going to be our main two tracks. All I did was I started off with a title, found the one that said physical security, so that's our opening title. So I dragged that onto the timeline. Then I added in our logo animation on top, so I put that on top here. It's a bit too long, so split it. So find where the animation in finishes, blade it, and then we want to blade it just before it starts transitioning out, so I remove that, cut that out, move that across here, and then I drop the opacity down to about 20%. So that will allow us to see the layer below, to give us that sort of effect. Then I added all my clips in the order that I want. I'll take that one out because we've already got it. So there we go. So I've got all my clips. So we got our first title, then we're into the biometrics. I add my vehicle tracker over the top of this because I want this hologram over the top, and then I go to composite. I want to make sure that's on add, and then I just play around with the position. So I just move the Y position down, and then that way what that's done is that's got rid of all the black, and then I can adjust this so it overlaps the clip there, and that's how I did that bit. And I wanted to add several layers on the top of this, so I right click, paste, and adjusted the size and position of each one, so you can see there they're all got different sizes to make sure it looked correct. So I did the same for all of those until I got all 4 in, and then once I got all 4 correctly sized and positioned, I then added a logo on top. Found our logo, basically dragged this over the top of all of these, and again it's black, so I just went to composite, add, and that way it kind of gives us that nice cool effect of it animating in and animating out. And then we wanted some titles over the top of this, so I just went into effects, titles, and the one I used I believe was drop in. So I basically dragged that over the top and then started customizing it, adjusting the position and the font to match the customer's branding. And there we go, got everything all aligned up. And I use the same drop in over on the start credits as well because the customer wanted the same on there as well. And once I was done with all the graphics, I was quite happy that everything's looking how the customer wanted. That's when I started working on the sound design, which is why we have these additional audio tracks here. Go back to my media pool, and then I've got a folder called sound effects. I tried to pick sound effects from here that match what I'm seeing on screen, then I'd time them and layer them up. So I just went through each clip, had a look at it, figured out which clip would go with which one. So these clips, they're going to be the same on each of the titles, so I could just copy those by holding down the Alt key and dragging them across to where they needed to go. So that's one way to do that, to save yourself a bit of time. If you want to make the audio part a bit easier, what I'd do is I would mute the soundtrack and then simply play the clip and work out roughly where the sound effect should be. And then when it fades out, so that gives you a really easy way of finding out where the clips can go, and you can like fine tune them. So if for instance I wanted to move this, I could zoom right into the timeline here. If I wanted to move it left and right, I could use the nudge key like that, and it makes a couple of frames across. So it just tidies everything up and makes it really precise. And then once you're happy that you've got all the effects, so I click on the audio track, and what I found for the sound level that works really good is about -12. Then it's not too overpowering. And if you do have any clips that are slightly too loud, you can use the volume control here, so just adjust the dB. You can turn each individual one down by a few dB. And once the edit was done, I went straight into the deliver tab, and for this particular edit the settings I used were YouTube 2160, give it a name, 25 frames a second, MP4. I opted for H.265 because it's a much better codec, and then you can fill in all your details and then add to the render queue, boom, render all, send it to the client for final approval, then upload to YouTube. To get your discount code for DavinciResolveTitles.com, use JTechWP10 and then you'll get a 10% discount on all the title packs. We also have a Davinci Resolve Facebook group, so come and join our group where we have helpful video tutorials where you can ask your questions and I'll answer them personally, so hop on board and join us now.